This is music, and this is an explosion of first impressions. It's time for another batch of first impressions. In these videos, I share with you my first impressions of the many blind buys I've picked up lately. I have a good stack this time, so let's get down to business, starting with this one here, Carmilla, Live Explosion 88 to 89. As you can see from the OB and the writing on the OB, this is a Japanese release. Carmilla were a Japanese all-ladies heavy metal band, one of the early all-ladies heavy metal bands. So they were kind of a precursor to the ongoing scene of, very talented Japanese hard rock and metal bands where all the members are ladies. Uh, these ladies were an early iteration of that scene. Now, this is a compilation of sorts. You have recordings from two live performances, one from 88, one from 89, and then you have three studio tracks. Two of them are like proper studio tracks. They're called Elizabeth Bathory and See You in Hell. They're also among the live tracks. And then you have an kind of untitled studio rehearsal session, I think it's fair to say. So musically, this is 80s metal, and although this stuff is from 88 and 89, it sounds more like metal from 82 to 85. So inspired a lot by early 80s Euro heavy metal and maybe mid 80s more aggressive US heavy metal. And then some people describe this as also being kind of a power metal band. I guess that depends on how you define power metal. To me, though, you do have some elements of thrash metal, maybe more in the attitude, and like early 80s filthy speed metal, like Motorhead and stuff like that. There's an influence from that, I think, on some of the songs here. So you have that here. So this is great stuff musically, awesome riffs across the board, like straight up heavy metal riffs, some hard rocking riffs too, and the songs are well put together, and you can hear that on the two uh, proper studio tracks where the production is more kind of professional sounding, because the production on here is very rough around the edges. It's very underground. It's kind of lo-fi. It's not like you can't hear what's going on, but I think I'm just speculating that this was probably just recorded on a cassette recorder built into the mixer. This was very common at a lot of venues back in the 80s and also in the early 90s. So the production is rough around the edges. The music is awesome though. And I do like the kind of undergroundy, kind of lo-fi production because it's authentic, if you know what I mean. Um, so I think that's great. The vocals are your rock and roll belting style and not your kind of clean, polished singing. So I like that too. Now, one thing that's very cool is that if you open the booklet, you'll see that there's a picture of the J card from one of their demos here. And I think they only released a couple of demos, maybe only this one. But if you look at the track list, you got two tracks on here, and the tracks are Elizabeth Bathory and See You in Hell. So you actually have the demo included on this compilation here. I think that's very cool. So I think this is great stuff. You know, maybe you won't like the production, maybe you will, but the music is just awesome. 80s heavy metal, no nonsense. Very dramatic stage band or two. Anyways, up next we have this one here, Sonic Takasako Army. I do uh, I used to at least have a digital copy of this one, so I have heard it, but it's been quite a while. So I decided to include it. So this is a Taiwanese band. They're described as a kind of a gothic and black metal band, and you definitely have gothic metal elements, you definitely have black metal elements, more the symphonic style of black metal, I will say. You have more than that going on though. This is less black metal than I remember it being, and more, I guess, diverse genre-wise, as it were. You have some, like yeah, symphonic metal. You have some epic metal. Uh, you have a lot of melodic death metal, even a little bit of old school death metal, but a lot of melodic death metal too. So I would probably consider this to be more like extreme metal meets gothic metal than just black metal meets gothic metal. Um, and you have, and this is really cool, you have some instrumentation which I think uh, stems from the Taiwanese music tradition, some windpipe instruments, and that adds a different type of epicness to this than you might be used to from like epic symphonic black metal, gothic metal, whatever. And there's even a little bit of a progressive vibe to this. So I think this is just a great epic extreme metal album. The vocals are harsh vocals for the most part, screamed or growled. And this is great stuff. I really enjoy this. I'm glad I picked it up again in a physical format. Awesome stuff. A good mix of different types of genres. So there should be something for everyone. Or if you're a genre purist, maybe you won't like it. I do really enjoy it. Up next, we have this one here, Cinerator, and it's Centuries of Silence, Danish death metal from the mid 90s. You have, this is a reissue, you have an entire bonus disc with two demos, one from 94, one from 96. So yeah, mid 90s death metal. Great stuff. Uh, kind of thrashy in places. Riffs for days. Great riffs too. Nice mix of early 90s old school death metal and then mid 90s groovy death metal. And I know the word groovy is a bit of a dirty word nowadays, but I use it with affection because the groovy riffs on here, they're awesome. This is great stuff. Fantastic guitar solos too. Um, if you like 90s death metal, I mean, definitely check this out by Cinerator. It's great stuff. Uh, I think I've met the guys. I cannot remember if I actually have, but I think, but I'm not sure. But the crew I would hang out with, uh, one of the guys was like much older than the rest of us, so he had his own house. So as far as I remember, when these Cinerator, when these guys played in my hometown, they would stay at his place and he would throw parties and stuff. I just can't remember if I was ever there at one of those parties, but in any case, it's great mid 90s groovy death metal with some thrashy elements. Really, really good stuff. Check him out. Up next, Triangle by Divorce. Now, I picked this one up. Had never heard it, but I picked it up thinking would probably be some kind of hard rock or heavy metal. Um, but it isn't. I would say this is 80s 80s pop rock meets a little bit of hard rock maybe. It's not even hard rock. It's just 80s rock. Let's just call it 80s rock. I don't even know if it is actually from the 80s, but it has that sound of, like very clean 80s rock. So the first time I heard it, I thought it was kind of bland, to be honest. So I figured I'd give it another spin, and I enjoyed it much more the next time around because at that point I approached it as an kind of 80s rock sounding release, and I actually quite enjoyed it. So kind of standard, polished 80s rock sounding tunes. It's a lady singing. Her voice, I think, is interesting, but it's not very, powerful or anything like that. But her voice is interesting. There's some great guitar work, some great guitar solos, and the guitar has that 80s Stratocaster I don't think he plays a Stratocaster, but it has that 80s, a clean Strato. I mean, distorted, but kind of clean. You know what I mean? Uh, Stratocaster sound that I recognize from a lot of jazz rock from the 80s. So that is interesting. But yeah, it's not bad stuff, but don't expect it to be hard rock or metal. I think I think it's the last track, the Sidewalk Man, but I don't remember entirely. But one of the songs is kind of hard rocking with some metal riffs. The rest, straightforward, polished 80s rock. I don't know if they are from the 80s, but if you approach it as such, just as rock music, sounding like 80s rock, it's not bad. The first time I heard it, I gotta be honest, I thought, I'm not keeping this one. The second time I heard it, I thought, ah, I kind of like it when I now know what to expect from it. I'll keep it. I think I'll enjoy listening to a couple of songs every now and then. Up next, we have this one here. My Name Will Live On by Doomsword. And also this one here. Let a Battle Commence, also by Doomsword. So, same band, obviously, and these two are very similar in style, so we can address them both at the same time. This is epic doom metal songs about, glory and death in battle and all that stuff. Very epic sounding. The vocals remind me a little bit of Altar of Oblivion. It's that style of epic doom metal. So old school doom metal, epic twist to it. Uh, Not super slow, but it does have that kind of like maybe mid-tempo by doom metal standards, riffage, and you got lots of great riffs on here. It's actually really good stuff. If you like your Candlemass, Altar of Oblivion, um, maybe even Solitude Aeternus, although these guys are not as epic as Candlemass or Solitude Aeternus, but it's in that vein. If you like that sort of stuff, I think you'll enjoy this. Very, very epic doom metal with a lot of, I have to say, just straight up traditional heavy metal stuff going on too. There are places where I caught myself thinking, is this really doom metal? Isn't it just like traditional heavy metal slowed down? And then you get some doom metal, almost as if they were mm, anticipating people would think that. This is great stuff. Doom Sword, uh, epic doom metal. Pick these two out. I enjoyed them for sure. Up next, change of style. Uh, Dr. Living Dead, Cosmic Conqueror. Um, yeah, I don't think I had heard this one before. Because I had a couple of digital copies of some of their stuff, and I decided to pick their releases up on CD. And I think this was one I actually, for some reason, never got around to even listening to. But it's it's Dr. Living Dead thrash metal, so um, quite fast crossover thrash, inspired on the vocals side at least by the likes of Suicidal Tendencies musically. It's yeah, thrash metal. Sounds like it's inspired a lot by Nuclear Assault. Fast songs, thrashy songs, great stuff. Sometimes people have described this as a pizza thrash metal band. I don't know if I would go that far. Some of the lyrics are kind of pizza thrashy, but whatever. Uh, there's actually a doom metal song on here too. Um, so that's actually quite interesting. But yeah, great thrash metal. Uh, the crossover part here to me comes into the picture with the heavier, groovier parts, which sound like they were inspired by groovy, hardcore punk breakdowns. But this is great stuff. Like it sounds like Dr. Living Dead, and if you know what that sounds like, you know this is quality, fun thrash metal. I'm glad I picked it up. Up next, we have this one here, "End of Silence" by Dreamscape. This is progressive metal in the vein of Dream Theater and Fate's Warning. You know those classics. It's not as self-indulgent as Dream Theater, but it has the synths, it has the odd time signatures, it has a quite heavy sounding guitar, and it's a little bit more straightforward. So maybe it's also kind of like Arion Star One, you know, that ilk of prog metal. It's really good stuff. The vocals sound a little bit like James LaBrie's singing in places, and in other places it doesn't. Really enjoyable stuff. I like 90s and 2000s progressive metal, so I enjoyed this one a lot. Uh, it is melodic, it has the synths, it has the odd time signatures, it has the Labrie style vocals, so it has a lot of things. People who don't like prog metal, they will not like it, but people who like prog metal, I think they will enjoy this one. I did. I like it. Musical journey. It has all the stuff I enjoy in progressive metal. And up last, we have this one here, Mind and Body by Drop Hammer. It's a Dive Bomb release, but it did not come with the, those Dive Bomb hype stickers. Instead, it's hand number, which I think it's interesting. I don't care too much about that. Like, oh, I got number one. Cool. This one is number 213, and it sounds the same as number one, I think. Whatever. So this one is cool. You got 17, I think, 19 tracks on it altogether. Half of them are bonus tracks, as you can see right here. So you got lots of music on this one disc. Now, Drop Hammer are described as a thrash metal band, and definitely you have a lot of thrash metal on here, but just like with Thonic was more than just black metal. This is a case of a band that it's more than just thrash metal. There's a lot of straight up like US heavy metal all over the place too, along with thrash metal riffs. There's even like some hard rocking stuff in some of the riffs, which I think is interesting. The guitar tone is kind of, I would not call it thin, but it's not meaty either. And I think that works against the overall experience, but not a whole lot. Um, 'Cause this is really good stuff. It's really interesting. Um, and I genuinely do enjoy the mix of, thrash metal with hard rock even in places and some heavy metal. In a way, it's a little bit like the same approach as like early Megadeth. Although that was very thrashy, if you go back and listen to a lot of the riffs, they are kind of hard rocking in a way. Just go back and listen to the first couple of Megadeth albums. This is a little bit similar. They don't sound like Megadeth, it's just like a similar approach. It's very interesting. You do have some straight up thrashy stuff, like the very last track of the bonus tracks is called Serious Friction, and that's an all out thrash metal track. You have some groovy riffs too, and the bonus material is from the late 80s and early 90s. I don't remember when the actual album is from. Um, but yeah, so you have a little bit of early groove metal too, not too much. It's really good stuff. It's just interesting. It's hard to pigeonhole, but hey, that's cool too. And then another interesting thing is that the singer sounds more like a sleaze rock glam metal singer than a thrash metal singer. But it works strangely enough. So this is very, very, very interesting. I would recommend if you want to check out some interesting stuff. Check that one out. So yeah, a good stack of stuff here. And apart from Divorce, all of it I think is awesome. The Divorce one is good for what it is, and I actually did enjoy it the second time around. But as always, check this out on your own. See if you like some of it. And if you do, great. If you don't, great, because you've checked it out before buying it, and then you don't have to worry about having wasted money on it. Whatever. Thanks for watching.